at the 1967 borders was guaranteed it could happen, would you be prepared to accept that? Meaning that, your argument for having to extend to a greater Israel is that if we don't do that, all we'll have is missiles raining in on us. So I'm saying take that out as a hypothetical. And your security in 67 borders and the capacity to do all the things that you want Israel to do and is doing was given even more impetus. Would you be prepared to be for a Palestinian state in that circumstance?
First of all, Israel is fulfilling its vision as we speak, in any case. And
but you can't. It's kind of, if you're in a permanent state of war, there's got to be some.
Look, we've been in
just in terms of how you spend your national.
Yeah, but still, it's been 65 years since Israel's established, and we don't have peace, yet we're doing amazing things.
Nobody denies that.
And we can continue to do amazing.
Different, interesting, if you didn't have to live with the constant threat to your security.
Charlie,
as you perceive
my oldest kid is 8 years old. His name is Yoni. He's named after Yoni Netanyahu from Entebbe,
the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's right. And the one thing that keeps me awake at night is what happens 10 years from now. I'm willing to go fight, but I really fear the day that Yoni will be a soldier. So we want peace. I just think it's a different avenue, a different approach. Now, there is one thing that is sacred, and that's Jerusalem. And if any sort of arrangement, and I don't care what, requires to divide our eternal capital, which we've been in for 3,000 years straight, the answer is no. Under no circumstances. We will always keep Jerusalem united under Israeli sovereignty. But I think there's another approach, which is called peace between the people, and I'm not talking about it. I'm doing it every day. I'm building industrial centers in Judea and Samaria for Palestinians and Israelis. We've got shopping centers joined. We've got better infrastructure. Instead of wasting our time endlessly in Oslo, in Annapolis, and all these Camp David places.
All those things were bad?
No, I'm not saying they're bad. Go do it.
It's an effort to find some kind of agreement, which you think is a futile exercise for today, then forever.
Well,
then forever.
You know what, Charlie? If we took the money that we spent on all these efforts and instead just built better infrastructure for Palestinians and Israelis, man, life would be better. Yeah, but that's way more important.
You know the reality. Even in cases of withholding money that should be going to Palestinian.
I oppose that. I vehemently oppose that.
It happens, does it?
Sometimes it happens, primarily in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
And I oppose and vote against it. And by the way, it's not happening much. But just keep one more thing in mind. There's two Palestinian entities. There's West Bank, run by PLO or PA, and Gaza, run by Hamas. Yeah. Now, all these discussions are being done with only half of the Palestinians. Let's even assume tomorrow there is a deal. Abu Mazen and Tzipi Livni, they have the perfect deal. But 1.5 million Palestinians say, this does not mean anything to us. We're not part of the deal. So we give up everything, but we're left with 1.5 million Palestinians who are still determined to wipe out Israel. What kind of deal is that? This is all charades. These are all charades.
But what kind of deal?
And I know that it's common wisdom. I know that it's an uphill battle what I'm doing now. I know that most people think that there has to be a Palestinian state within Israel, but that doesn't make it right. I'm a student of history, and I've seen time and again how common wisdom was wrong. This is one of those cases.
How far are you prepared to see the extension of settlements? As far as you can go.
There is no as far. Look, all of Israel, Charlie, from Tel Aviv to the Green Line, our whole width is 15 minutes.
Right.
15 minutes is how, if you get on a car, you drive eastward. So it's not that very far.
Often cited as the reason for security concerns.
Yes, but I'm saying, if anyone suggests to divide Jerusalem or places that are part of the Judeo-Christian ethos, the Bible, all these areas,
and Islamic as well.
Well, that was way later. If you know history, the Palestinian people who came about roughly 100 years ago as a reaction to Zionism. If you look at history, there was never a Palestinian people.
All right, can we move to Iran for a second?
Absolutely.
The the Prime Minister has one point of view, and I assume you support his point of view, or maybe have a different one. He basically has vocally and vociferously being an argument against the possibility of an interim agreement, which would freeze Iranian nuclear activities in exchange for the reduction of some of the sanctions, but not on oil, as I understand it. What's wrong with that?
Okay. I'll explain what Iran has, what's their plan, and then what's wrong with it. Iran has 18,500 centrifuges, of which 1,000 are of the advanced kind, so effectively they have 23,000 centrifuges. Imagine a pipe that's generating uranium that is poured into a pool, okay? This pipe can produce enough uranium for a bomb now every 6 weeks. Okay? If you run, because you need 3,000 centrifuges spinning for a year for one bomb. Run the numbers, every 6 weeks, the existing pipe can produce that. Iran doesn't want to produce a bomb right now. They could if they don't want it, and they make it their business that each time the pool gets filled to a certain red line, they drain it and let the uranium out. They don't want to cross a certain threshold that Netanyahu set a while ago. Right. So their goal is not to break out with a bomb today. Their goal is to break out with a bomb tomorrow. What I mean is, here's their plan. Anyway, they've reduced production. We don't need the deal. Their plan is keep the machine, ease the sanctions, and wait for an opportune moment when the world's busy with some conflict 8 months from now, 12 months from now, and then quickly break out within 6 weeks, set a fait accompli. We're a nuclear nation.
So your argument is you've got to get them to not be at a breakout place.
Their current breakout time frame is 6 weeks. We need to get it back to 3 years.
So you're saying today, in 6 weeks, they could have not only a bomb, but the capacity to deliver the bomb?
No.
In 6 weeks, if that's the breakout you're saying.
In terms of uranium, they could produce enough uranium for a bomb, but there are other aspects, the delivery, the ignition of the bomb, the metal. There's other elements, but those are very hard to track. It could be done in a small room that you'll never know and you can't really control. So where we differ, our goal, a bad deal is a deal that halts the production. Because anyway, they've halted the production. Right now they've halted. The IAEA said that they've already halted because they don't want to cross that line when the whole world's looking at them, because they'll turn into a North Korea. And they cannot and do not want to be a North Korea. They've got a very advanced nation, the Persians, a wonderful people. By the way, we Jews owe them a lot. They're the folks who 2,500 years ago let us go back to Israel and form our second nation, second commonwealth. So their goal is not they don't care. A bad deal is one where you stop production but let them keep it. A good deal is one where you dismantle the machine. Now, Charlie, they had 164 centrifuges in 2006 when the Security Council resolved that they cannot add one, and they've breached 3 or 4 consecutive UN resolutions, and now they have 18,500. We need to dismantle the machine so the breakout period will be 3 years and not roughly 6 weeks.
How would you do that?
Well, there's only one way. Put them at a junction where it's an either-or. Either you keep the machine or you have a good economy. You can't have it both ways. And they're almost there. You know, it's like in a boxing match, the other guy's on the floor, the referee's counting 6, 7, 8, 9, and now the West is pulling the guy up and
you want to see them count it out.
Yes, and force them to make the tough decision. That, you know...
Do you assume they're rational and they will make that decision?
They are rational.
And so you assume they'll make that decision. That if, in fact, there is enough pain to their economic life, they will give up whatever you want them to give up.
Yes.
They will cry, uncle.
Yes, because as a politician, I can tell you there's one big drive, and it's called survival. And they want their regime to survive, and only faced with either regime survival or the nuclear program, they'll make the right decision.
There's much speculation that there's growing pressure on the leadership in Jerusalem to order a military strike. Do you believe that is an accurate portrayal of the mindset in Jerusalem today?
Israel has the ability to protect itself, and Israel will protect itself in any event. We view these days as the most fateful since the Yom Kippur War to Israel's existence, and not only to Israel's existence, but to the West. If Iran acquires a weapon, the problem isn't they'll drop it on Israel right away. The problem is that right away, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Syria, the whole region will have many bombs.
Everybody accepts that idea.
Yeah, the question is, do you have the political will and determination to actually act? I was told by someone that Rouhani is considered a potential Gorbachev.
This is the president of Iran.
Yeah, Rouhani, the president of Iran. And this is a valid argument that we have to empower him and talk to him and get him into a corridor of discussions. But I just want to point out one thing. Gorbachev turned into Gorbachev. He didn't volunteer. It was America. After the 1986 Reykjavik summit with Reagan, Gorbachev came with a bad deal. Reagan walked away, came back to the States, ratcheted up the pressure, and only then he was Gorbachev, if you will. Only then he decided to become this great reformer when faced with survival or the program, the arms race. Same here.
It wasn't so much that. It had to do with strategic defense initiatives.
That's right.
And Star Wars more so than an overall arms program that Gorbachev was scared of.
I read the books, but you were around. I was too young to realize all of that. My point is, now's fateful days. If a bad deal is signed, it will ultimately increase chances for, an action and a war. A good deal will prevent war. We want a deal. We want a deal.
A bad deal will more likely increase the chances for war, meaning a bad deal will cause Israel to be more likely to strike. That's what you just said.
A bad deal that allows Iran essentially to retain its nuclear program will inevitably increase chances for a military option.
And what's the timeline on that?
I will keep it at that.
But it's sooner rather than later.
Certainly, as I said, Israel is prepared for everything.
Each month.
Yeah, I'm not going to share all our...
I'm not asking for the national secrets here. I'm just trying to understand the mindset.
Yeah, but absolutely that, the people who want the deal most are us, because I'm the one who's going to get 100,000 Hezbollah missiles.
But you're saying that the deal that you think is on the table is a bad deal, and it is more likely that Israel will be forced to strike if that deal is signed and becomes a fait accompli.
A bad deal will increase chances for the need of a military option. That's correct. Yes. Our assumption as an independent state is that we will never outsource our security and our existence to anyone, including America. I'll point out one last thing. If a deal is signed, and it looks right now like some deal is going to be signed, I urge the P5+1 to focus on two main questions. What happens at the end of the 6 months if we don't achieve this specific objective? And what needs to happen is a reversal and reaffirmment of the sanctions automatically. And B, what defines a successful end or not? And the answer should be dismantling those 18,500 centrifuges that were criminally acquired over the past decade and not keeping that machine. In other words, if you go down a deal, at minimum, define what is good and bad and what happens in the bad outcome.
It's good to have you here.
Charlie, it was great being here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.